Here's a new attempt by Akaso to refresh their action camera lineup. Dual screen combo with rather good video performance and bunch of accessories. One of the few cool budget action cams lately. So let's inspect. Hey, welcome to the channel, Michael speaking, and I'm so happy to again test an interesting action camera for you. Akaso, a company that for the past few years provides some of the best action cameras on a budget, and they're back with a solution that is inspired mostly by all the premium brands offering a dual screen setup and of course twice to 3 times higher prices. This here is called Brave 7, and not to be mistaken with the Brave 7 LE that we got reviewed last year. It's priced at exactly $150, but you can check for a discount coupon in the description below the video if such one is still available. This means that the camera undercuts the price of DJI Osmo Action. It costs a lot less than SJ Cam SJ10 Pro and kind of 3 times less than the GoPro Hero 9 or some of the Insta360 combos. So clearly the price is good, however not great considering the fact that the ultra successful V50X is priced at around $100, does about the same job, but is sadly out of production already. There's a thing that we unfortunately have to admit, the crazy competition about great Chinese budget action cameras is more or less over, with Akaso together with their second brand, Dragon Touch, being among the very few remaining players. Kind of sad because now more than ever there are great chipsets and image sensor options that could be used. Now, the Brave 7 is striking us with unboxing experience which is almost identical to what GoPro had with their 6th or 7th generations. And I guess Akaso well realized that some people are either missing this pack or maybe believe it actually has something to do with GoPro. I do believe each company should find their own identity. There are so many creative and fresh ideas that could be used these days. Anyways, what is important is what's inside the box, and there are a whole lot of awesome accessories. Most of them are cheaply made plastic mounts, but are at the same time a great starter kit for all of you, my dear action cam enthusiasts. Better also check our GoPro Best Accessories series, because there are some cool extra components that you may want to order together with your Akaso, like a proper tripod, a good microSD card, selfie stick, a case, and so on. The Brave 7 has actually a really nice housing, a lot better in terms of quality than the LE edition, and well, almost identical to SJ Cam SJ10 series. Most likely they've used the exact same one with a cut for the front display. Let us check the hardware specs department. Chipset. It's the well-known HiSilicon 3559V200 paired with a 13-megapixel Sony IMX458 image sensor, a 1350 mAh battery, a dual-screen setup, voice control option, external microphone support, and that's IPX8 waterproof, meaning that you can dive with it without the case, although not too deeply. Just like most of the best action cams out there these days, including the latest DJI, GoPro and Insta360 models. I know that not everybody is comfortable figuring out whether a product is good based on just the specifications, and although there's 20 megapixels mentioned on the box and the fancy EIS 2.0, we better read between the lines. The chipset and the image sensor combo are actually fine, however a bit outdated. Nothing we've seen so far can put the premium action cameras under pressure, but it's very obvious that Akaso managed to extract quite good image quality out of this sensor. Not only that, but you can check the image stabilization performance. It will be perhaps a challenge convincing someone that I actually shot this handheld with just a selfie stick and ninja walking. The new housing is really nice, not only because of the form factor, but also the build quality itself. It's the first Akaso action camera that doesn't feel cheaply built. It clearly is not anywhere near premium, but is a solid mid-range quality in my opinion, something that so far I guess only SJ Cam were able to provide, with exception of their SJ9 series of course. Software-wise, Akaso Brave 7 doesn't disappoint either. Main screen with the usual for action camera menus. By the way, the front screen can only be used as a reference. You can switch to it for vlogging by pressing the button pointing downwards. It cannot do anything about the config though, so we return to the main touchscreen and the menus. We notice here the first imperfections of the budget hardware used. For example, you can't combine distortion correction together with image stabilization. You can only use one of these at a time. If you're in motion, I'd recommend you to go for electronic image stabilization in order to smoothen the movements. If you plan to shoot using a tripod for your videos, then choose the distortion correction in order to straighten up all these bent shapes. One note here, since the image stabilization is electronic and is based on the processor analyzing the footage and improving it, it increases the shutter speed while recording, so especially in low light conditions, you will notice a lot more details if image stabilization is off. And this is typical for almost all the action cameras these days. I think the menus are well optimized for touchscreen navigation, not too many but cover the essentials. Apparently, you won't be able to produce any professional-looking footage following some of the rules like the 180-degree rule, while you can theoretically mount DJI Osmo compatible filters. Know that they don't fit perfectly well in here and you're gonna lose the waterproof protection like that. You can't control most of the settings manually, as it is for GoPro Hero series for instance. To put it in simple words, if you shoot waterfalls or springs, they will look a bit awkward. But you can at least choose different frame rates, exposure settings, even some software filters can be applied to enhance the look of the footage. If we have to be brutally honest about the Brave 7, it doesn't really offer anything better than a good 2019 action camera. In fact, while stabilization is one of the best in its class, I can't say the rest is anywhere near impressive. The 4K 30 frames per second is native 4K, meaning that there are no tricks or manipulations and the camera does record true 4K, but once again, Akaso failed to deliver proper 1080p at 60 frames per second. This has always been a weakness with their cameras, starting with the very first V50 model, and now with 2021 models, we still have these grainy, blurry, missing details in 60 FPS. This makes the camera inappropriate for bikers, because if performance is that bad in a bright day, you can imagine the struggle fighting the shadows of trees when you go down hills.
If you don't mind a bit of wind, this is the audio quality of the Akaso Brave 7, and yeah, this is what caused my kind of weird hair, and this is where the breeze is coming from. So let me know what you think. The Akaso Brave 7 LE and its microphone audio quality, and that's by the way 4K 30 frames per second. Any comments would be much appreciated.
The slow motion is at a maximum 90 frames per second, also quite limited, and being a bit worse than 60 FPS mode of course, which we mentioned is pretty bad. The smartphone app experience is at least okay. Really nice of Akaso to add the option for H.265 encoding in the camera, which can preserve the same quality of videos at a smaller file size. Looks like we're already on the page with the drawbacks. The horrible performance of the microphone is the leading part here. Then clearly the lack of 120 frames per second for slow motion is disappointing, so is the performance of 1080p at 60 frames per second. I found the battery life to be inconsistent, and in 4K I managed to get no more than 40 minutes of recording. Lack of menu control settings, I include them to the list now because for the higher price we do expect better performance and features, and I also find the lack of tripod mount option on the body itself a serious trouble, because you always need to use the protective frame. To sum things up, the key advantages of the Brave 7 are the housing bringing the IPX waterproofness, the dual display setup and the many accessories included. Video and photo performance is good, especially if you don't expect GoPro-like quality, because we have to be fair, it's somewhat average and perhaps worse than wide-angle modules on most smartphones these days. Obviously, smartphones are slowly killing action cameras in 2021, and I think Insta360 so far are the only company acknowledging this by providing the ultra-interesting Go 2 model recently. If Akaso and the few remaining action cam makers want to survive, they need to do better. Not that the Brave 7 is bad, but right now the Osmo Action is $199 on Amazon, which really makes it impossible to justify spending $150 for the much worse performing Akaso, despite being designed 2 years after DJI released their product. If price gets a little lower, maybe Akaso have a chance, but right now, hard for me to recommend it to you. So if you can still find a good old V50 series, the Pro, the Plus or the X, they're all pretty close about performance and features to this new Brave 7. So that's it for today's episode. If you already own the Brave 7, make sure to focus on its strengths. If you're about to purchase your first action camera, there still are good second-hand Hero 6, 7 or 8 cameras or the mentioned Osmo Action, which may serve you a little better. Thanks a lot for watching this episode, and I hope it was useful. If you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. As usual, links to all the products shown throughout the episode are to be found in the description below. Take good care, enjoy life, make some good footage no matter what the camera is, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!